If you've ever wondered, are you meant for this? Lean in, listen closely. I want you to hear this very clearly. Are you listening? You are. You are meant for this. Now's your time. Now is the place. And now you are going to step up. You are going to be seen, be heard, be visible, be valuable. And yes, that will lead to you being paid. How you doing today? My name is Steve Kidd. Some of you know me, some of you don't. For the last 40 years, I've ran a marketing company. But the truth of the matter is for my entire life, I was born into media. I was born visible and valuable and have been in the media literally since the first day of my life. I've had the highs, I've had the lows. I've had the opportunity to work with multi-billionaires, Fortune 500 companies, brand new startups, stay-at-home moms, every angle, every gambit of the marketing field, especially having to do with that one simple word, visible. And today I want you to know, I want you to feel it, I want you to embrace it. I want you to know, like you inhale and you know that air came into your lungs, not because hopefully when you inhale you feel anything, because you really shouldn't, but because when you inhale it just happens. You spent your whole life breathing, and it's not some kind of thing that you have to tell yourself to do. It just is who you are. You breathe. You live. You make the difference. You are. You are valuable. And visibility is there for you. It always has been. Now, I get it. I understand. It may feel like you're the best kept secret in your industry. You've tried so hard and you're just not breaking through. I know those feelings. And it's real easy to buy into that message and miss all of the other times when you've been visible. Additionally, and in some respects even more importantly, is this very true fact. Your visibility is only necessary, only important, and only worth being visible to the people you're meant to reach, the people you're meant to serve. We live in a culture. Hey, cool cat, glad to have you here with us. We live in a culture that emphasizes us needing to reach millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions in order to have value. I said this the other day, I'm going to say it again. And it's a quote from Seth Godin, so it's not my words, okay? Better to have 100 raving fans than 10,000 people who could care less. Roldolph and Don, glad to have both of you here. I really appreciate you being here. See, here's the thing, all right? Number one, if you had 1 million people that were interested in what you're going to do right now, do you have the infrastructure for it? Could you sell, here's a pen. Could you sell 1 million copies of this pen? All right. You got this really cool pen. Maybe it's the most revolutionary pen in the world, or maybe it's the most generic blue Bic pen that exists. Okay. Because they sell hundreds of millions of those every year. All right. They have the infrastructure for it. If 1 million people saw your video and said, I want that pen, Private Snowball, glad to have you here with us. What would you do with those 1 million people? Could you fulfill 1 million orders right now today? One of the things you'll see if you've ever watched Shark Tank is, they show up on Shark Tank, they pitch their thing, they get a deal, they don't get a deal, whatever. I mean, I think when they get a deal, I think it um, improves the numbers even more so. But even the ones who don't get deals, they get a ton. They get, the day that it airs, they get a ton of traffic. Now, here's the number one question. Some of them make a whole lot of money. Some of them crash their server. They don't know what to do. I can tell you from experience, if you are running a company, Tails, glad to have you here. If you're running a company and your company is, and let's not, whatever number you want to insert here, but let's just say your company is doing $5,000 a month. Let's say it's doing $10,000 a month. So you're a $100,000 a year plus company. All right. If you're averaging $100,000 a month in sales, meaning you're doing essentially $100,000 a month of credit card transactions or Zelle payments or, things like that. Okay. If you go to an event or you go live and you put out a product and you sell 10,000 in a week, let alone if you had a really massively amazing situation and you sell 100,000 or 300,000, we won't even get into whether if you sold 1 million. Okay. If you have that happen, what's going to happen is, unless you've given them a heads up and you've told them and they already know, and even then you're going to have to do a follow-up call after, in the midst of when you're starting to have those sales come in, because what happens is the merchant processor thinks that there's scam going on, that there's some kind of fraud or your account's been hacked or those kind of things, and they shut it down. And if you don't have that system in place, you could go as much as 6 months. It's usually more like 4 to 6 weeks, but it could be as much as 6 months before you can access that money. Now, if you happen to be selling a service, you could fulfill all of those orders. You could show up to the calls and do those kind of things. If you're selling a product, okay, you've got to now fund the wholesale cost of that product. That's why, if you've ever seen, going back to Shark Tank as an example, that's why if you've ever seen people talk about they need money to fulfill purchase orders, that means they have people who have actually said, I want to buy your stuff. And they can't buy, they don't have the money in the bank to buy the product from the manufacturer or to buy the materials to manufacture it. To be able to fill that product, they need to cover existing sales, not even the marketing of new sales, but the existing sales. You see, mass visibility, this lie that we've been fed, that we want to go this massive viral and we want to have millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people. We don't really, very, very few of us have the infrastructure already in place to do that. And even the huge companies, okay, I'm going to use a specific company, Nike, okay? You've heard of Nike before. Whether you like Nike shoes, you don't, doesn't matter, okay? Nike, whenever they bring out a product, they know they're going to sell millions of it. And yet their messaging, they take around 6 weeks, give or take. Okay, their main campus is in Beaverton, Oregon. They have several others, but their main campus in Beaverton, Oregon, they have a whole bunch of little rooms and they have a whole bunch of little different marketing teams. And when they have a new product that's come out of R&D or come out of potential R&D is really kind of more what that phase is. They do market research. Who would be interested in it? What would they want? And they start doing all those things. And they start doing some market testing. And then they develop an avatar. They develop an ideal, perfect, absolute client, a one person. They narrow it down to one person. They want to know that person so well that they could go out to lunch to her favorite restaurant, tell you exactly what she's going to order from the menu, even so much as what chair at the table she would be most likely to sit at, and tell you in the conversation, these are the kind of things that she would be saying, inserting into this conversation. Whether she's a total wallflower and she'd be like, sitting there munching on salad off to the side, kind of quiet, or she's absolutely, life of the party kind of person. And she's sitting there, and maybe she's even one of those people who, drinks at lunch at work. Okay. I'm not saying whether you should or not. Okay. But, either way, they know her that clearly. Very specific one person. Now, Nike's going to bring out that product, and they're not even going to bring it out if the research doesn't show that they can sell millions of it. It's just not worth their time and their effort and the development of this whole marketing that they're doing. But their ad campaigns are extremely, extremely specific. If it's a running shoe for women, and it's kind of cute because it's like pink. It's a pink running shoe with a pink swoosh on it. They bring it all together so that they can reach specifically that one person. Now, what is Mikey? I keep calling it Mikey. What does Nike find? Nike has found that when they talk very specifically to that one person, they reach millions. When they try to talk to millions, they reach nobody. You see, invisibility isn't a value problem. It isn't that you don't have worth. It isn't that what you have isn't something that millions of people should want, need, and have access to. The problem is you don't have the visibility for that. And then on top of the visibility, you need to understand and, in a way, really control the reach that you have so that you can go and have that one client, and then have 2 clients, and then have 4 clients, and then have 8 clients. See what I'm saying? You build it, you grow it. The same thing becomes extremely, extremely true when we start talking about your media, your message, and especially your book. Everybody I know, myself included, okay? When we sit down to write our first book, what we end up doing is we spew out everything. Okay, my first book was called, originally it was called 10 Things You Have to Have to Succeed in Life and Business. I re-released it, still as 10 things you must have, because must have seemed to read better. Okay, did some testing. All right, 10 things. All right, here's the thing. I had to re-release that book as a 10-book series because it's overwhelming to the mind. When we hear about, oh my gosh, there's 10 things, when we read the one, okay, we want to take a point, make it really clear, and then give them a clear action on that. I absolutely love the book Profit First. I totally do. And Mike Michalowicz, great interview, and listening to his books in audio is just absolutely, you want to get all of Mike's books in audio because Mike's hilarious. All right. But Mike even has in his book, he says, stop here and don't go on until you've done what I just taught you. Now, and I said this specifically to Mike, so it's not like I'm talking behind his back. Mike should have stopped that book there. That should have been the end of Profit First Book 1, Profit First 1.0, whatever that might, be called. Profit First Step 1. Because here's human nature. If we give a person, and whether it's 10 things like my book was, or it's 3 things, whatever, if we give them all of that, even when we tell them, stop, you got to do this thing first, human nature is we want to complete, we want to read the book. Even with all the statistics about how much we don't finish books. That's a whole different discussion for another day. And then the thing about it is when you get to the last step, whether it's step 3, step 10, step 250, okay, whatever the last step in the thing, the last step is exciting, and the reason why you want to do it has huge upsides. I can talk to you about how you can sell 10,000 books in a week and be on the list to be considered. I mean, New York Times bestseller list is an editorial. So at the end of the day, there's nobody that can guarantee you New York Times bestseller. But I absolutely know the list that they purchase from the Nielsen company is essentially what it is. The same company that, ranks music, ranks, I mean, it's where all that information, that's what that company does is makes rankings based off of sales. Okay. But at the end of the day, they're going to decide, and some people make the list and some people don't. But to have that 10,000 sales in a week, we absolutely can do that. Okay. It's not cheap. It's not guaranteed, but we can do that. But if you haven't sold one copy of your book and your dream is, I want to be in the New York Times bestseller list, the first thing we need to do is look at, why hasn't your book sold at all? And what can we do to make that? You see, your book didn't disappear. You don't disappear because you're not talented. The book's probably amazing. More than likely, the SEO is wrong on your Amazon account, or you don't have it in ebook, print, and audiobook form. It's about a third, each of those. If you don't have all three of them, you're losing, a third of the market for each one of those that you don't have. So if you have your book only in print, you're only selling to a third of the market. And I'm talking about a third of the people that are your people. Okay? The system has to recognize you. First things first, you got to get your SEO in place. You've got to be really structured, really, really well, so that Amazon's like, oh yeah, okay, we know who this book is for. And they present it to people who are searching for the thing. You got to know the words that they're going to use. Not your words, but your customers, your readers' words. There's no shame if you haven't done that. You're not supposed to be an SEO expert. You're an expert at what you do. That's where I come in. I've spent my entire life dealing with this stuff. In the last 40 years, running a company that does these things for people. And whether you're brand new, you've never brought in one client, or you're a Fortune 50 company, we've worked with them and we know exactly where you are and what the next step is and what you need to do. And specifically, I deal in the space of messaging, which mostly has to do with your books and then how you use that book. And if you have a book, if your book isn't on the bestseller list, we absolutely got to get it there. If it's been on the bestseller list and it fell off of it, we need to get it back there. If your book isn't bringing in reviews, and I'm talking like new reviews hitting every week, if not every single day, we need to do that. Okay, you need that before you worry about whether or not you make it in on the New York Times bestseller list. You want to be, rather than dreaming of going on the Oprah show or XYZ CNN or Fox News show or whatever, and have them, announce your new book coming out, and the millions of people that watch that or watch another late night show or what have you, that those millions and millions of people see it, and that you get the 1%, which is pretty typical, of those people that buy your book right at the airing. Okay. So, I mean, if a show has 1 million people watching it and you get 1% of 1 million people, you get half of 1% of 1 million people. Okay. 1% of 1 million people, by the way, is 10,000 people. Interesting number, isn't it? Okay. And so half of 1% would be 5,000. If you had 5,000 people that bought your book right now, do you have it set up so that 5,000 orders could be fulfilled? How long would it take you to be able to do that? Does the publisher, the hybrid company that you're working with, or, being self-published on Amazon, does it have that in place? That's what visibility can bring to you. And those are just some of the steps along the way to be able to do that. You're already there. You're already an expert. You absolutely are. You are amazing at what you do. Now the world needs to know it and see it too. I want you to drop the word review in a DM or comment it to me. Let's reveal to you what's already really there. And then let's reveal to the world that amazing you that you are. Absolutely, it's time to do that. Drop that word review, like I said, in the comments, in a DM to me, and let's get you moving right now, like today. I mean, we can get the process started today so that in the next couple of days, you start getting people that are buying your book. And with the intentionality of us finding you on purpose, people who aren't just going to buy your book, but if they like it, they're going to say good things about the book. They're going to put out a review. We've got that whole process in place, not so that you can go out and buy reviews, but so that you have a system in place that you can tie into that can help you be visible all the time. Nothing disappears when it's unseen. It just sits around and it waits. It waits until the mechanism, the systems come out of hiding and they're visible again. Just because people aren't seeing you, just because you feel like you're the best kept secret, that doesn't mean that you're gone and can never come back. It just means we need to work on the things that are going to make you visible right here, right now, today. You're amazing. You're incredible. The world needs you. And I would love to be able to help you be visible and valuable like you both want and need and deserve. So DM that word review to me and let's get you going. Let's get it going for you right now. Let's not let another day of this year, forget about New Year's resolutions. Let's just make it the year of action. Okay? Tomorrow we're going to get together and we're going to talk about the effort myth. And I look forward to talking to you in more detail about that whole myth of if you work harder, you're somehow going to make more. It's really about systems, not about how hard can you hustle, how fast can you run. Okay? Until we're together again next time, I hope you're happy, safe, warm, and loved, and that you have a great week.